All right. And happy June 12th, 2021. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. If you can see me, if everything looks as good as it can with this mug on the camera, let me know over in the comments. Give me a thumbs up. Not sure what the YouTube delay is from the time because I'm using the in browser stuff. So if you're out there, make sure you're giving me some communication so that I know what's going on. Good morning, everyone. Tony says it's 5x5. Tony with Quick Tech Solutions is in the house. Gibby is in the house. Alonzo, good morning. You know, Alonzo, that other vendor that you introduced me to, I signed all the paperwork. Their lawyers seem to be happy. I don't know if they were looking for some sort of a North American distributor to send all the gear through, but I have not got a shipping notification, nothing. And I was looking forward to doing, they have gear that directly competes with all of the current vendors that we use, and so we were going to be like the first North American channel, and we were also going to do tech support. And I don't know, they're based in mainland China, so I don't know if all of the political climate, I don't know what the deal was, but communication has dried up and everything. So good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Cody of Mac Telecom Networks. Good morning, Justin, Richard, admin engineer, Tobey, James Ridgway's in the house. So, James, if James, can you let me know in the comments? Do you mind me talking a little bit more about the Cambium thing? Bob Carpenter, good morning. 26 of you filing in here. Tian Bighorn from Nashville in the house. You probably saw the so James James owns a WISP, and I was lucky enough to have James choose me as a consultant to help him. And I think I mentioned before that in the firmware for one of these Cambium switches, they offered passive PoE, but when we went to configure it, it showed up, but you couldn't actually configure passive PoE. We opened a ticket. There was some communication back and forth. And to Cambium's credit, and James, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but they actually are getting him a credit for this switch, and he gets to keep it. So, yeah, there's 28 of you out there. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. So let's talk about that real quick, right? So, all of my other creators that are in the house, Cody with Mac Telecom, Tony at Quick Tech. I'm assuming maybe Joe and Unky Joe will be joining us. And if the rest of you are content creators, um, let me know too. But like the algorithm has been doing like weird things. So like I've been like hovering at 68,800 subscribers for days, and the numbers are like up and down and up and down. And one time I've lost a bunch of subscribers and then they're back, but video views are still the same or up. I do know that YouTube is in a transition. They're moving YouTube completely to the Google Cloud, which only makes sense, really. um, but I don't know if they're tweaking algorithms. I don't know if they're cleaning up data. I don't know what it is. But other content creators, if you are in the comments, let me know what you're seeing too, because I'm seeing some very strange patterns with subscriber numbers and things like that. And so it'd be interesting to know exactly what is happening out there. Yeah, so I've got to get with James. We got to figure out what switch we're going to go with. If we're going to go back with a Cambium, if we're going to go with a WISP switch, or what we're going to do. So we should probably just set that up via email. Yeah, so it was 90, like, so they were predicting 94 in Peoria yesterday. We actually hit like 97 degrees with feels like it was like over 100. So, and today is supposed to be in the 90s. So we're going to take everybody swimming. However, my wife is at the hospital. Her grandmother, I'm not going to go into a lot of details here, but there was an automobile accident in construction. She is alive, thankfully. So my wife is visiting her grandmother, but then we are taking kids swimming this afternoon, which should be fun. I got burnt last weekend pretty good, but All right, over to the comments. Yeah, Tony says numbers are up and down constantly. Cody says it's been a little off, and some days have 0 subs, but then they come back a day later. Yeah, and then you lose them again, right? So it's really, really weird. Um, and I don't. I'm trying to figure out. It obviously is not just affecting those of us who don't have monetization turned on, which is good, right? Um, 105 on the Gulf Coast. You can keep the 105 there for now. James says correct. It was a very long process, and the issue went to the global support team, but it was made right. Yeah, Cambium did make it right, and you can. James can confirm. Like I was like, we were on the phone. I'm like, this is not like Cambium, right? So like once it got to the proper place, that excellent tech support that I talk about with Cambium kicked in, and they were able to make this right. Let's see. O to B, Dr. Mike Hughes, welcome to the channel. Used to live in Manitou. Okay, yeah. So you were over by Goofy Ridge and Pekin and all that. Yes, there actually is a place they call Goofy Ridge. For those of you wondering if I'm just giving Dr. Mike Hughes a hard time, I am not. He can verify everything that I'm saying. And now he is in bloody Louisiana. But Louisiana is one place we've never been, and we do actually want to. And Jerry, we do want to go down and visit the Louisiana. Um, Manitou's more by Kankakee. For some reason, I was thinking Manitou was closer to Goofy Ridge and Pekin. Yeah. So one of these days, now that everything's getting back on track, I'm going to be hosting Grand Stream UCM certification probably towards the end of August here in Peoria. We are going to have probably 15 to 20 seats. I have an updated Grand Stream certification, a Grand Stream certified trainer meeting later this month. I think it's like the 24th or something like that. But anyway, I'm not sure what the changes are going to be that we're having the meeting for. But my certification doesn't expire until next year, so it shouldn't be expiring. So we should be able to get everybody certified, and we should be good. So you're going to see a video, Gibby, on that. I'm actually going to offer a week of training, and it's not just going to be GrandStream. So GrandStream has very specific requirements for the training, how I can offer it, how it has to be offered, and things like that. Which is why we haven't done any virtual training, because the certification actually has to be done in person. And so like 2 days of that is going to be GrandStream training on the PBX. There's going to be maybe 2 days of GrandStream training on the networking. I'm trying to figure out like how much of it's going to be like networking concepts, then how much of it is going to be Synology, how much of it is going to be whatever networking vendor, but definitely GrandStream. So we're probably going to set it up so that you can come in, get GrandStream certified from us. Um, and not have to take the whole week. But for people that want to learn everything from nuts to bolts, and Jacob Johnston is actually going to get a couple days of free training. He's got that coming for those servers. But um, we are going to offer that. It's going to be a lot of information in a week, but you're probably going to be able to pick and choose whether you want just to come for Synology, whether you want to come just for the networking. So we'll see how it works out. We're planning that right now. I have to make it worth your time and worth your money for me to feel good about it, which is why I don't want to just do. I mean, we're going to do just a 2 day GrandStream training, but I want to be able to offer uh, that whole depth of training, and so people could come. I don't know what a week of training is worth. I mean, you're talking about 40 hours. Um, what's that worth to somebody? That's what we're trying to figure out. Mantino, not Manitou. I'm sorry, Mantino. Okay, I got it now. Man, Mantino. Sorry about that. Frank Martinez says we want to install voice over IP phones and take out the PBX system. So you're looking for like a cloud based. get with us on that. We've got some suggestions for that if you are doing that. Of course, we are on-prem first. So, yeah, so the thing is, right, here's the thing about voice over IP. It is very easy to sell voice over IP, is very easy to install voice over IP. Where you're going to see the differences come in, and especially with like my text that I have, is the troubleshooting, right? That's where most companies fall apart with voice, is that they're troubleshooting. They don't know how to troubleshoot voice. They don't know how to troubleshoot networks. And so when you run into an issue, but that's really our wheelhouse is, anybody can sell you a box and set it up. But when there's problems with the box, that's what separates the wheat from the chaff. Quick out of the box question here. Is there a place I can get tutorials on how to configure UISP to work with their CRM? Because I have looked and I'm not getting any info. Well, it's all built in and it's um, all put together. So I should do some videos on that because I've got enough gear, and I've been talking about for years having starting a WISP or starting an ISP video series. I think it's time to do that. Jacob says, Mid-C is putting in a tower to bring in our fiber service. Given I'm signed up for 1 gig symmetrical, can they actually deliver that? And how bad is the lag from the wireless uplink? So, Jacob, that is a great question. So once you get into like carrier grade backhauls, you are talking about multiple multi-gig backhauls, and the radomes for these things are, I mean, they're huge. So when you're driving by like a tower on the interstate, or and it's off and you see those big radomes, those things are not just this big around. Those things are like 5, 6, 10. They're huge. They're huge. So yes, and Mid-C knows everything about the carrier game. They're going to have no problems delivering that. Frank, when you say 2 servers for VoIP, can you kind of explain what you mean by that, please? After Dark 230. I don't so After Dark, does everybody remember Flying Toasters? Those who remember Flying Toasters, raise your hand. That was my favorite screensaver. And that, and the one where you had the little bouncy balls and the little smiley faces that made the boop 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 noise. I can't make the noise, but like when they would like fill up your screen with like marbles. Those are my favorites. So I don't know if that's where your uh, uh, username came from, but that's what it reminded me of. Um, Yes, we are that old. And I used to, this is no kidding. I went out and bought like the Simpsons After Dark, the Looney Tunes After Dark. Like I had all of like the After Dark collections of screensavers, and it was awesome. One of my favorite screensavers is fireworks, and that's another thing that we're gonna do. We're gonna do tomorrow. So tomorrow, every Sunday, I have an engagement with a couple customers in the morning, but tomorrow afternoon, we are going to go get some fireworks. Now, we can't uh, shoot them off in our front yard because there's a high pressure gas line, and um, I'm not, I'm not that stupid, right? So we'll have to find some back roads or something where but also it's going to be dry, so we're going to be very careful. But yeah, we're gonna get some fireworks. I'm actually writing down. So UISP, if you haven't used the new UISP, even with the CRM built into it, man. So here is something, and I was like, I had to step back. This is literally, I had to step back. This was on Wednesday. Wednesday. So we're joining um, 2 of the gigabeams, right? And they've just added this. They just added this functionality at some point. I don't know when they added it, but so the gigabeams are at a site that's registered inside of UISP. So we have the site, and I pasted the key into the devices, and they automatically joined to the site. I didn't like it knew what site they were supposed to be in, and I had to step back and look at this. And I looked at the person that was with me. I was like, "Did you move these to the site?" And the person was like, "No, I didn't move these to the site." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't move them to the site either." So I had to step back for a second and then realize that if nobody added them to the site, there's something going on in that software where it understands that those devices are in that site and joins them automatically. So I've got to figure out what, and if somebody knows, put it in the comments. I got to figure out what the mechanism is for that, where it automatically adds those devices to the correct site. I don't know if it's based on IP. I don't know if it's GPS. I don't know. But let's go over to the comments real quick. Gibby says, can you put back a UNMS tar file back into a new UNM? Are you talking about the actual system config? I would think you would just run a restore if that's what you're talking about. So here's the thing too about the CRM. Say what you will about Ubiquiti, but I will tell you that the UISP and the UCRM side I am super happy with. So I've got a customer down in Oklahoma who they're using Telrad radios, and I've been involved with this process since last year. And so they're using Telrad radios, but we are using Ubiquiti. We're using the Air Cubes for the actual routers inside the homes, and it works perfectly. Even with the Telrad radios, the system still works. Customers can pay their bills. If they don't pay their bills, they get suspended automatically. They go to the paywall. I am so happy. Yes, there are always things that every company could do to change software, but I'm so happy with UISP and UCRM. You know, I've been with back when it was UNMS, before it was, you know, I've been with it since it first came out. The ton of the stuff that's in there, I petitioned Ubiquiti. Hey, let's put the, you know, things in there: two-factor authentication, the credential encryption. You know, when it's storing that, those are things that I pushed for, and I'm so happy with that product. And they had to do something to really differentiate it from Unify, and they have. My opinion is if they had EdgeMax. Uh, um EdgeMax, if the hardware from Unify and EdgeMax at this point would have stayed parallel, if you've run UISP, you know hands down that software is way more responsive. It's easier on the. I mean, there's just so many things about UISP. So we use it even in non-ISP rollouts. We use it because I will tell you, we use Edge and AirMax in corporate environments, right? Because a lot of the things that that hardware can do is more corporate than where Unify is at on some things at the moment. So let's see. So Frank, I think you're talking about redundancy. So we can do redundancy with the UCMs on site. You can also do it in the cloud. You can do it using DNS. You can do, there's a couple different ways to provide that. So you could go to our website, reach out to me via email or the contact form. We can talk more about this. Good morning, Chris. Yeah, I wrote down the UISP thing. Like I'm like checking off things that I wanted to talk about. Like we talked about fireworks. We talked a little bit about YouTube. We talked about UISP. And if you are a business owner, you're a consultant, and you have to pay quarterly taxes, don't forget Q2 estimated taxes are due on the 15th. So make sure you get them out there, get them. That's one thing that I never understood about some business owners about messing around with the IRS. Just pay the IRS what you need to, you know, what your accountant tells you, and move on down the road. Yeah, cloud hosted PBXs, you know, I don't know, Grandstream, in my opinion. So James, if James actually has some stuff going on this morning, but anybody who's ever used like a free PBX and then you use like a Grandstream, like literally the Grandstream PBX, I can train non voice over IP people to run that system in an hour. I can have them adding extensions, doing all the basic admin stuff in like 2 hours, like an hour to 2 hours. And because the interface is so intuitive, it's laid out so nicely. um, but yeah, it's interesting that the county has an ordinance against cloud hosted PBXs. I find that very interesting. Dr. Mike Hughes says, yes, flying toasters. I was doing a presentation back in the 80s, got long on one point. Here comes the flying toasters, trashed the presentation. Yeah, once the flying toasters take over the screen, you're done. You can't compete with the flying toasters. Um, Do you remember the lawnmower man? The brr, brr, brr. Man, if if I wish I need to. Why doesn't it run on Windows 10? We need to get somebody who can port After Dark to Windows 10. That, or I guess I'm just going to have to start living in Windows 3.1 and Windows 95 and have it up in a VM on my other monitor just so I can have flying toasters. Let's see here. Morning, David Anderson. Gibby says I had a UNMS server go down and not able to back up the tar BZ2, but was able to win SCP to pull the tar file. I think you can go in through the system panel and restore that. I don't know. Get with me on that, Gibby. Prentice. Yeah. I trust me, I get it. This last week for us, if you missed it, has been kind of crazy. So I got a kid in summer school, so I had to shift my schedule. So I get him to summer school, and then I use my lunch break to go pick him up. So I trust me, I get it. After Dark 230 says, we are a small WISP with 40 clients and growing. I do love UISP. I also use UISP to manage my corporate links. I do wish that there was a third party module that would add Unify into it. So, one thing that we do in UISP is they do have that third party device option. Now, I know that's super not ideal for Unify since it is Ubiquiti. But I will tell you that if we have somebody who says, hey, I've got this device, it keeps going offline, or I've got this other device at a site that I need to monitor, we'll use the SNMP or the ICMP on that third party to monitor that so we get those UISP notifications. Because, and everybody that's using either UISP or everybody that's using UISP and Unify at the same time, you can testify that when something goes out in Unify, it can take minutes to receive a notification. But if you have a device drop out of UISP, it's right now. So let's see here. We use UISP's hosted server. The only gripe I have. Yeah. So UISP is awesome. And I do have some clients that are using the hosted version. And that's cool. What I haven't done yet is I'm going to have to get with Ubiquiti. We're going to have to figure it out because if you are supposed to be PCI compliant, I'm not sure how that all works with the hosted version. So yeah, GrandStream is a dream compared to other PBX systems with the interface. And I'm hoping to get Tony up here later in the year when we do the certification class, because I would love to have Tony here. We need to get Joe, Unky Joe. At some point, we're all gonna meet up, but Joe needs to come up for the training. Our ordinance reads like it's an 80s law. Something about all phones must work for emergencies after a hurricane, including the required pay phones at each condo tower. Well, that makes sense. But let's think about that, right? Reads like an 80s law. So the town we used to live in actually still had a law on the books where you couldn't bathe in public without a bathing suit. Interpret that however you want. So Gibby says, what is everyone's favorite technology movie? Yes, put your favorite technology movie in the chat. So I have a couple. The thing is, for me, if you're like me, like it's difficult for me when they start doing technology stuff and it's not technologically accurate. Like when you see an IP address that has like a 300 or a 400 or a 500 or a 900 in the octet, drives me crazy. But Hackers is great. War Games is great. The Net is fantastic. Firewall with Harrison Ford is a great movie. UNMS on edge switches is great. I wish they had an edge line access level APs and not point to points. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying though, but they won't do that because if they had comparable access points for UISP, why would you buy, you wouldn't, with how great the UISP software is, why would you use Unify? And so they've got to keep that line, right? So, Jacob Johnson says After Dark on 10 can be done. If I recall, involves a registry mod to launch a patched version of the After Dark application when the screensaver syscall is made. Totally sketchy download. LOL. Well, as long as it doesn't install a rootkit or some sort of some sort of weird malware or something, I'd be interested in that. Jacob, send me an email. I'd at least like to take a look at that. CSI Cyber War Game 1980. Yeah, would you like to play a game? Yeah, good stuff. After Dark 230 says they need to update their Edge Max switch line. We need 10 gig Ethernet. So I can't talk about that. All I'm saying is stay tuned. Make sure you're watching the early access store. I can't talk about it. Um, there's some stuff that's in the early access store now that I can't talk about. I will tell you they are not going to kill the Edge line. People were worried that the Edge line is going to die, and it's not. They're going to have Edge and then this other stuff that we can't talk about. But definitely watch the early access store. Yeah, I don't, I have a Discord channel and it, people tell me, and I haven't been in there in months and I feel really bad. I need to go in there, but we've got some really great people in the, we've got some really great people in the community that are keeping that going. So, you know that I love edge routers, especially edge router X's, because they're so inexpensive that there's no excuse to not have a hardware based firewall when edge router X's are um, $49.99. However, we placed an order with a distributor, the largest distributor, excuse me, in the US, which you can probably all guess who that is, and you can put that in the comments. We were, for edge router X's only, there were 2,500 orders in front of us, and we wanted to order multiple edge router X's, not just one, but multiple. And there were 2,500 orders in front of us just at this distributor. So, um, hey, Joe from Cajoling is in the house. How you doing, buddy? Yeah. So when things are out of stock right now, they are extremely difficult to get. I just did the Protect NVR video that UDM Pros are sold out. Like everything is sold out. Excuse me. Lenovo has told us that laptops that we're buying, they're not going to ship until September. Intel has now said that the chip outage is going to last 2 years. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it shakes out. I'm glad you made it, Joe. Glad you made it. If I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. Good morning, Madhu. Yeah, and I can't wait for Grandstream to come out with their switches either. So the chip shortage has messed up that timeline. Um, I do have one of their new outdoor APs on the way, should ship this week. Their Wi-Fi 6 APs will be generally available July-ish. I'm going to have one of those on the way as well. So, good morning, DJ Ware. Um, so After Dark says, I just hope that they fix that the thing that you can't talk about does routing. I have one and I'm not impressed so far. So I am impressed and not impressed with certain things of that. However, I do wish that they would update the other edge routers so that you had the same options that you have with that thing that you're not impressed with, because there's definitely not parity there between the two, because you can do so much more, many more things. So Mac Telecom Network. So here's what I'm telling you: like, you can't stop doing business because you can't get edge routers. This is why you have to have a stable of multiple vendors that you're comfortable with that gets the job done, because you can't tell a customer, I'm sorry, we can't do work because it's going to be 6 months to get an edge router X. That's unacceptable. By the way, I do have a new Protectly on the way, because somebody asked if my config would work on the new Protectly. And so I emailed Protectly. I was like, hey, and he's like, whoa, instead of us testing this, we're going to send you one and you can test it. So we're going to Willie Howe verify the new Protectly. And I'm super excited about that. Unky Joe is in the house. Blaine says, has anyone tried 2.5 or 5 gig over Cat 5e? Yes, and it does work. It absolutely does work. And I've got a TP-Link 2.5 gig switch you're going to see right over here. Hey, Frank, what does that mean? So Frank Martinez says that he surfs. I understand what surfing is, but he surfs Huntington Beach pier and you can see containers outside waiting to duck product. Is that dock or duck? What do you mean by that? Let's see. And yes, you can. And there's the comment is correct. You can do 10 gig over Cat 5e for short runs. Yes, we do it like 5, 6, 10 feet. I haven't done anything over about 10 feet. Gotcha. Oh, so Cody, you must be working on a project with, so that makes sense, right? If other people are holding you up, but, oh yeah. So, if you haven't seen, Joe Trellis from Cajoling Tech, if you didn't see his live stream from Thursday night, go check it out. He talks about a couple, license plate cameras. I'm thinking about buying one, Joe. So, and actually for the daytime, I am actually going to use LPR or whatever it is, and to watch vehicles coming down the road. So, let's see. Back to the comments. Routers route and switches switch. I've moved away from the multi-layer switches and just add in a virtual physical router. I find it a lot more stable overall. Yeah. So people are starting to get into fabric computing, which is kind of what you're where you don't necessarily have a bunch of switch ports and hard switches and things like we used to have. And you can make changes across the organization very quickly. Uh, so there is a TP link option. If you look, I did a TP link router video not that long ago, and we have been installing those since we can't get the EdgeRouter X's. And somebody said routers route, firewalls firewall. And once you understand how that TP link works, it works just as good, if not better, than an EdgeRouter for certain applications. So we've been installing those a lot to do network segmentation. But you're going to hear me say this a lot: if you're not segmenting networks, why not? Don't put everything in the same network, especially if you're a compliance driven organization. No, no. Which outdoor unit did I get? It's the latest one. Let's see here. I'm going to pull up the model number. Is the GWN 7630 LR or 760. I think it's the 7630 LR. It's whatever their latest outdoor AP is. Product. Oh yeah. So Frank says, yeah, they're waiting to offload product. So that's interesting. I wonder why they're not offloading it. Is it because they don't have enough people to work? I mean, we've got this whole conundrum, right? So I wonder what it is. Yeah, because of the lack of edge routers, I went down the tick route for a micro tick. Is it okay? How do you pronounce it? Is it micro tick, micro tick, or micro tick? I've heard all three different ways, and in a TikTok video, I got roasted because I said micro tick, which I thought was actually correct. So somebody tell me how to actually pronounce it. Tony over at QuickTech says the TP R605 is, yeah. I mean, we are, yeah, and it's that TP R605 is actually a little bit cheaper than the EdgeRouter. And so I'm going to start keeping those things on the shelf too. Yeah. So Joe, that LPR video that you showed that Tony sent over, you can actually do that for free. So we should all have a meeting of the minds and talk about that. Jeff says, can you talk about DHCP options on the UDM Pro? I know what they are, but the UDMP isn't broadcasting them. Thanks. So are you talking about special options like option 66? Gibby, what did I say second? Was it microtick? Is it microtick? Is it microtick? Is it microtick? Is it microtick? I'm going to open an OnlyFans, and that's all it's going to be is me sitting at the mic going, microtick, microtick, microtick. Joe from Cajoling is going to be my biggest supporter. I'm going to be in the top 1%. All right, let's see. I really wish Ubiquiti would sell a virtual license to the EdgeRouter OS. So you can go out and you can get ViOS, and it is awesome. Yeah, and so I got a client who is down in Kentucky, and they want to do outdoor Wi-Fi at a courthouse square. And the requirements are when they use it, there's going to be anywhere from 200 to 2,000 people. And so we are doing this completely Grandstream APs across the board. We're going to submit it for a white paper for Grandstream, but we are going to use completely the GWN 7630 LRs across the board. So it's going to be pretty fantastic. So is it Microtique? Microtic. Okay, so admin engineer says, and a microtick, and so it is microtick. Okay, well, cool. Let's yeah, we're gonna go with microtick. I'll never say it differently. Microtick, 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 microtick. All right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get. I think I'm gonna get microtick certified. Let's see. Brian Murray in the house. Good morning, Brian. Option 125. Is option 125 actually in the UI? Let me look. So I'm not sharing my screen this morning. I'm doing this right from the YouTube live. So you're going to have to just take me at my word that I'm loading my UDM Pro. And I'm clicking on the network button, which all this is going through the UDM Pro. So let me go over to LAN. And I'm going to go down to advanced DHCP options. What is DHCP option 125? DHCP option 125. What is it used for? Satellite AIM servers? Is that what this is? What do you use an option 125 for, Jeff? And 43. So here's what I'm going to tell you. And I have to have this hard conversation with customers all the time. Some of this stuff doesn't work. Just like I'm getting ready to do a video that people have been requesting since it came out. And we've got some stuff that, Mitel phones. Jeff, we should have a conversation about getting you away from Mitel phones and getting you onto Grandstream phones. We would love to help you out with that. But I'm getting ready to do a video on some stuff for Ubiquiti that people have just been clamoring for, but some of it's broken. I've reported it, and some of it just doesn't work the way we expect. In fact, I had to pull a switch out of production, and Monday night, I'm working with a very large client, actually at the state level, to configure this a different switch because it couldn't. Yeah. Yes, you can. We do offer consulting services. And we do it over the phone. We do it remote, depending on what you need. We could fly somebody out, but I'm going to go ahead and put the link to my website in the comments. You can go over there, fill out the contact form, and we will definitely help you out. So I am going to pump out some Grandstream videos this week, some Synology videos coming, but then of course, I don't know if did I show everybody this? So Ubiquiti did send me this. They don't get to talk. They don't get to preview the videos, but this is the G4 bullet, and I told them, I said, because they wanted to know, like, hey, are you going to do videos on that MVR? I said, I am, but I've only got the doorbell. Can you help me out? And so they did. They sent me the bullet, and it is the same size. I'll show this with version 3. So this will help with that, some of that AI detection. And I'm going to try to figure out if I can actually output. So it's very interesting. There is a piece of software out there that people are using. So I am fascinated with the state of Tennessee, and um, there are a couple of places down in the Smokies that actually have live streams out to the internet, and they are using these. So I think they're using a third party software to capture it. So I'm going to do a video on that once I get all the nuts and bolts figured out. Because if you go way back, like 2015, 2016, maybe 2017, I did a video because in the firmware for those G3 bullets, we used to be able to do a live stream right out to YouTube. They removed that, but you know, it's oh hey, so does that's I guess that's what I don't know. So does only the Pro have the blue ring, or does the bullet have the blue ring? Can somebody answer that for me? Because I'll talk about that. Because if this has got the bullet that does the thing when it detects motion, that's fantastic. And like I said, we are going to start deploying protect in certain situations. So, and then here is this is the dome. I'm super excited about that. Okay, so it is the Pro only. That's unfortunate. But yeah, so here's what the dome looks like. This thing is tiny compared to the other dome. So I'm actually also going to buy I'm going to go buy a Wise version 3, and I'm actually going to mount it directly outside. So as soon as I get the GWN 7630 LR, I am going to put a Wi-Fi access point out in my front yard, and I am going to mount the Wise V3 right outside on a light post and see how it works. So yeah. And Tony's right. If you're in here, man, make sure you hit that thumbs up. We don't know, us smaller creators don't know what the YouTube algorithm is doing or what YouTube is doing right now, but we are definitely seeing an impact to our numbers. So, and I'm not monetized. The only way I make money off the YouTube channel is if you use my affiliate links, or if you hire me for consulting. And that doesn't bother me. I'm perfectly happy with that model. Yeah, Dave Robertson. So the thing that I am interested in with Wise is that they're supposed to have the Wise version 3 is supposed to have this twilight, like the night vision is supposed to just be like fantastic. So I've got like a Wise version 2, and we're going to compare those side by side. And then I'm actually going to give Wise version 2 to a coworker who just bought an animal and wants to keep an eye on their animal. And I was like, look, you just need this one camera and it'll be perfect for that. Brian Murray says, by the way, still looking for a server rack or 2-post rack. TN Bighorn, Brian Murray. When you say tri-state area, Brian, is that Missouri, Iowa, Illinois? Because I know there are some around the Nashville area. I'm going to be posting it on social media as soon as, oh, Connecticut. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Got all excited. Hey, Backstage 101 is in the house. All right, let's see. Back to the comments. TJ Mass says, ordered, filling out form on site now. Will Wise work? No. So Wise V3 does not support RTSP yet. They keep telling us they're working on a firmware for that. Wise V2 does have a Wise V2 does have an RTSP mode. So, and it does work. It works with the Synology. You can capture it with the Synology or with any other NVR where you can do RTSP. So, but the problem that you have with RTSP is you can't tune the camera options. I mean, RTSP is literally just a feed from the camera, which is the problem with the Unify cameras and Synology. Up or down numbers. So actual subscriber numbers, Brian, have either on certain days stagnated or dropped and then come back. It's really weird. Where I was getting like 1,000 subscribers a month, I'm down to like 512 subscribers a month, which tells me that I need to make some time and get multiple videos out because it is also dependent on that. So we'll see what happens. TJ Mass. So affiliate links. So down in the bottom of this, don't feel like you have to use affiliate links, but down in the description for this video, there's a Patreon link. There's also a link to my Amazon shop. So yeah, thanks everybody for hitting that thumbs up. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Yeah, I understand oppressive heat. So it was actually Wednesday. What day? Excuse me. Thursday night. Thursday night, I went out and watered the garden, and I was pleasantly surprised with the garden with how many buds were on everything and how many blooms were on everything. And so we've got a bunch of bell pepper plants, tomato plants, cucumber plants, zucchini plants, a couple different squash plants. But then I wanted some ghost pepper plants, and my wife would not let me plant them in the ground with everything else next to the other peppers. So they're off by their lonesome in a planter with special potting soil mix because I'm going to mess around with making my own hot sauce and things like that. And so they're over by themselves. Hopefully the wind doesn't blow stuff over to the bell peppers because we don't need hot bell peppers. I don't even know if that's a thing. So we'll see. Yeah. So, Cody, we are definitely in a niche, right? And so it could be, but I mean, look at some of the other people in our niche. They're over 200,000 subscribers. So it's just weird, right? Plus, here's the thing. So all of the highs that we all experienced last year with everybody being locked down, I mean, last year, so I've been looking at my numbers, and as far as like revenue and everything goes, I'm down 17% for the year. But last year, everybody needed all kinds of stuff. And um, this year, everything's reopening. People are going back outside. People are spending money in different ways. So I expect a little bit of a drop. We'll see how far at the end of the year. I'll circle back and let you know how far it went. But right now it's 70%, 17% down. So, however, the amount of phone systems we are quoting is up over last year. Now, I did have a client who we quoted. We told them how we were going to build things, and they went out and bought all the hardware on their own. And so I'm expecting that they're going to come back and yeah. Hey, Gibby, good luck on that CCNA course. I know they changed that. The CCNA is going to give you some great information. You'll have to let me know. Shoot me an email and let me know if they're still teaching you to connect like devices with a straight through cable and unlike devices with a crossover cable. A few years ago, they were still teaching that. You'll have to let me know, and you'll have to let me know what you think about the CCNA course. You know, we're always looking at how to get people educated because you and other folks, they can't take this away from you, right? So the best thing is to arm yourself with knowledge, to build your skill set, and that's what we're here to help you do. Backstage 101 says, can you do a video on how to configure which FXO port is used by a particular extension for? Yes. Yes. Let me write that down. FXO ports, outbound routes specified. I'm not going to call a video that because it'll be too long, but yeah. Huh. Everybody take a look at what Frank Martinez was talking about in Jeffersonville, Indiana, Amazon warehouse. And they networked to Walmart. Today you buy and your photo is taken and the product is deducted. So I really like Sam's Club. They have an app. As you're walking through Sam's Club, you scan the QR code of the stuff that's in your cart. You don't even have to go through regular checkout. It's you hit like checkout on the app and you are on your way. It's beautiful. Yeah, backstage. You can also get a hold of us. And for something like that, I can send you a screenshot that tells you how to do that. Russ says, Willie just took and passed the CCNA. Crossover straight through is on there, but pretty much says, yeah. So I remember, I'm not going to violate my NDAs. I can almost probably recall every question on that exam. I get so nervous and I have exam anxiety and I have a really good memory. But yeah, I remember the drag and drop stuff. How much subnetting is on there, Russ? Can you tell us without violating the NDA, how much subnetting is on the CCNA exam? I'm wondering if I could just walk in and pass it these days. T and Bighorn, Cajoling Tech had the live stream. I can't remember what minute mark it's at, but he shows the Axis camera hooked to a license plate reader software. It's another video that Tony sent him. And in real time, these cars are coming down an interstate and it's just boom, 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 boom. It's giving you make, model, like, Joe over at Cajoling, to let you know, that software likely has access to a registration system. And so it's comparing those plates to another database, which is how it's pulling that. Unky Joe says, I have some old Sangoma VT100 T1 gateways never used. Yeah, I'd put those on eBay, to be honest with you. Mitchell Smith asked, are you still using Ubiquiti after their security problems? Totally irresponsible. So they did have some problems. A lot of companies have security problems. It's how they respond. Ubiquiti's response definitely could have been better. However, if you've never been trained in incident response or stuff like that, looking from the outside, it's very easy to pass judgment. In 2021, usually the first thing that happens is you call lawyers and lawyers take over, which is one thing that burns my ass about this, because lawyers will oftentimes pay the ransom, they'll pay whatever. And when we should actually be educating customers how to, if you are breached, how to successfully remediate, put the things um, in practice so that you don't have to pay ransoms and things like that. So there's a lot to it. It's easy to pass judgment when you're on the outside, but lawyers rule the world in a lot of cases. So I am a newbie. Madhu says, I am a newbie. What should I choose between the AC Pro and AC LR for home? Don't use the LRs just for home, my opinion. A lot of people will use LRs. The LRs can talk very much further than a standard AP, but that doesn't mean that your device can reach back. So you get into what's called near far. You get into weird design issues. Just use standard APs. Frank says, in Fullerton, California, we have an Amazon grocery store, which I love shopping. Frank, is that Amazon grocery store? Is that the one they did the video on where you just put the stuff in your cart and you have the app open on your phone and you're in and out? I don't think it does like anything crazy. Um, um, but I don't think you even have to scan the stuff. I think it knows through like AI and stuff. Russ Dowtree says, you definitely need to know subnetting, be able to convert CIDR ranges quickly and easily. So depending if you're talking about just class C's, some class B's like are moving in between those, it's pretty easy. But once you get up and you have to start, it can be very labor intensive. Russ, do they still give you the dry erase thing and a marker and all that for that? Because I know you can't take notes in, right? But you can take your dry erase and write your notes that you looked at before you came in. There's all kinds of tips and tricks, but mostly I used it for subnetting. Really, you took a Nokia QIP test and it was almost all subnetting. That's interesting. No problem. No problem on that. I appreciate you being here, and we always like to help folks out. So here's the other thing. If you're going to get into license plate recognition, so like tollways, their cameras, if I had to guess, a single camera on a tollway is probably a $20,000 camera, and it's a special build because people are driving 100 miles an hour. It's at night. Like tollway, which is like, in my opinion, like legalized organized crime. Um, special cameras. But if you're looking at something like what Joe showed in the video, or you're looking at the Hike Vision or whatever, uh, there are very specific parameters in which license plate reader cameras have to be installed to operate optimally, and at which they say you can capture at the speeds and things like that. So make sure you're looking at that, because if you buy it and you don't install it the way the manufacturer tells you, you're going to be very disappointed. You're going to be very upset when in fact you should have checked out what the manufacturer said about how to install the cameras. Hey, thank you, TJ Mass. I'll be getting in touch with you a little bit later today. Um, Dr. Mike Hughes, I like you. You're full of all kinds of good stuff. Alligator versus elephant. Alligator, all talk, no listen. Elephant, all talk. Elephant, all listen, no talk. Besides the videos and stuff like that, I'm very much in that listening mode these days, listening to folks, trying to figure out where we can best help apply. There are some things I don't need to respond to, right? And that's where I'm at in my life. Like there are some things I listen, and if it needs a response, then I can offer a response. But a lot of times we're intaking information. Um, Backstage 101 says, "Hey Willie, I've been using a brand out of the Czech Republic called 2N. It's a modular intercom system. I saw you did a vid of the Grand Stream. You should check out 2N. Can you shoot me an email on that? I would check it out." Oh, so there's Brian. So Brian brings up a very good point. He says you need to understand wildcard mask, and that requires a good understanding of subnetting. So yes, a wildcard mask and a subnet mask, two totally different things. So a subnet mask you are going to use on an interface. You are going to use on a route. You are going to use. I'm thinking back to the Cisco. Where else you're going to use those? But a wildcard mask you're going to use on an access control list. However, other manufacturers, such as Ubiquiti, in their edge switches, when you're doing ACLs, you also have to use wildcard masks. And when you look at a wildcard mask, it almost looks like a flipped um, subnet mask, right? But there is a method to the madness, and that's something we're going to cover in our training. So, Cody, when you sat for an exam, they should not have actually given you a sheet of paper. It should have been a dry erase board, and you should have had to erase it. Also, when you go into the exam center, you can't wear a watch. You're not supposed to have a wallet, keys, phone, no hats, all that stuff. So, not sure where you sat for your CCNA, but they violated the rules by giving you a sheet of paper. Opinion on the Wi-Fi 6 LR AP versus the HD. It's like half the cost. I mean, if you're looking at it just from a cost, sure. But the HD, I just had this conversation with a church client. The HD is a very specific use case. So when you're doing high density applications, when you look, if you go and you look at like the HD at the output of that AP, the beam width is much more narrow than a regular AP, right? And it's because you're going to use that for high density applications. Let's say I'm building Wi-Fi in an arena. I'm going to have more HDs at a lower power because of that beam width. So I'm covering there's a whole design methodology to it. Once I pass my CWNA, I'm going to go on I need to go on this super tour of wireless videos. Let's see here. Back over to the comments. I should do a video on the open LPR. I'm going to write that down. It'll go on my never shrinking list of videos. Yes, BGP and OSPF, very, very important if you are an ISP. And then JH says wildcards don't exist on Juniper. So this is, different manufacturers. Gibby says tollway cameras, last time I priced was $35,000 per camera. And the software is around $100,000. But it probably comes with a database and it comes with a lot of things. But yeah, those cameras are very special. I'll never forget when I was younger and I had never driven through, I'd been through the tollway like one time up around Chicago. And a friend of mine, And I didn't know any better. I was like, I don't know, early 20s. He's like, if you drive fast and you swerve lanes, then the camera cannot catch you. And so I'm like, all right, let's try this. So we're coming back and I like swerve and everything. No, the camera still catches you. You just look like a jag moving lanes. And it's like one of those things like telling people to fill up their headlight fluid. You know what I mean? But I didn't know. It was funny. Sean Wood says was happy to see Meraki announce some new routers this week. So I do have a Cisco rep that reached out to me. We're going to be looking at some Cisco stuff. On OSPF, just make sure everything can hit area 0 and you're good. I need to do some OSPF videos. Let's see. Oh yeah, the Maglite, the beam. Yeah. So was I talking to you about that? I was talking to who was I talking to? I just used that analogy because somebody somebody said they I was just talking to somebody and it was they use an analogy of like they used hunting equipment as an example, and I was like, well, like I was going to use like the flashlight, like it's like a mag light versus like a spotlight. So yeah, yeah. Once you get an easy pass from Illinois, you you tend to keep it. Otherwise, they hunt you down and they break your kneecaps. And I'm just kidding about that. But one time I didn't pay the tolls and they send you a letter and I had just forgot about it. We got home. I forgot to check the site, because sometimes it's easier to drive through the tolls and then pay them later online. And they will like legit, they're not even part of the state. The tollway authority is their own thing. And like, they're like, we're going to take your license and your registration. I'm like, holy cow. So I paid them. Yeah. Tollways around Chicago are horrible. Let's see. Yeah, Brian, I agree. It is difficult for me to sit here and explain like beam width and like it's much easier like if we're in a building and I can kind of show you or if I can take a picture and like draw it. I need to do some illustration. I need to get better. I need to break out the Wacom tablet again is what I need to do. Yeah, and that's the thing. Brian says when he drove through Illinois, he just went on the site and paid the tolls. Absolutely. Yeah, Sean, shoot me an email. Sean, as soon as he gets settled into his new house, is going to be onboarded as a consultant, and I can't wait. I'm very excited to have Sean on board. Yeah, and what I'm glad of is that the red light, the stoplight cameras, I think have been found unconstitutional. So I think we'll see something happening there. But the thing is, right, cameras are everywhere now. So from the time you enter a city to the time you leave, who knows how many cameras you were actually captured on. All right. Are there any more questions in the comments? 76 of you. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Let YouTube know with whatever they're tweaking with the algorithm that you like this content. Um, you know what? I would move my camera. I actually do have. If I move this camera, is it gonna like blow the stream up? I actually have a dry erase board. It's like 4x5, and I have it over there. I've got so one time I won a social media contest from Ubiquiti. And I've got that piece of paper up there. They sent me like an award and a t-shirt and all this stuff. So I've got that up there. And then I have a security assessment checklist that we are going to go over. And then on the back, I think there's a list of books that I want to write a book. I'm very ambitious and very little time sometimes. But I want to write a book and I've got video series that I want to get out. And so that's written on the other side. And then I let my daughter draw on there. She leaves me cool messages, which I like. So yeah, and it's, I was just somewhere the other day. Where was I at? And somebody was like, "You wouldn't believe I logged into this." And it was so here's the thing, like unless we can help educate people about security, security is the wild wild west right now. It's just like building automation control networks. It's the wild wild west right now. And so we got to get people um you got to get people educated. So that's really what it is. Um Yes. So I am going to, as soon as I get through the GCT update, which is the Grandstream Certified Trainer update on the 24th, I will be putting a video out because we'll have to get hotel arrangements. We'll have to arrange a classroom. Um, I was thinking about building a training center here, and my accountant informed me that I couldn't write it off in year one, that I'd have to like write it off over X amount of years, and that it's going to raise my property taxes and all kinds of stuff. So I'm not going to build it to try something that may not last, 10 years, but the hope is that we're going to be training you still in 10 years. But so we got to get all that figured out, hotels and all that stuff. So it should be pretty easy peasy, but um, I want to thank you all for being here this morning. If you haven't had your whatever you drink in the morning, water, coffee, wherever you're at, could be 5 o'clock. I want to thank you for being here. I do appreciate each and every one of you. If you need IT consulting, go to williehow.com. You can use all those affiliate links down below. I do want to thank you for being here. And as always, I will see you all next week, and I will see you in a video this week. So thank you, everybody. Have a great Saturday. Be safe wherever you're at. Be awesome, and we'll see you soon.